Alright guys, welcome to the video, and as you've heard, I'm going to be walking you through how I created this very NILE inspired tone. As you may have guessed, I am using the LE456 because I showed it to you already, and it's most likely in the title of this video. So, as I showed you when the demo was playing, everything I'm using here is free to include the cabinet impulse. Okay, so the basic idea was that for some particular reason, I am a huge fan of the NILE, which is not a particular, but the guitar tone. A lot of people actually hate it, think it sucks. I don't know, I think it's brutal, and I particularly really like it. So I was like, I wonder if I could take free plugins and try and sort of recreate their tone as best I could. Now, there's a caveat here. I am playing a 7-string in drop A, just like NILE does. However, I do not have his plugins. I do not have his pickups. I do not have his guitar. I do not have his gear and everything that goes with it. So I'm just basically trying to recreate it as much as possible. So if anything, this is just a well-meaning imitation. So if you're looking for the exact settings for the NILE guitar tone, this is not it. It's just a fan creating a tone that sounds similar. So we're going to be using the LE456 because I am basing this off of the time that Karl and the guys were using the ENGL Invader. They're back to their Marshalls, but we're going to go ahead and use the LE456. Now, from reading, I know that Karl uses a vintage Marshall cab with selection V35s, I believe, if I can remember off the top of my head. I don't have a cab, and I'm not aware of any cab with selection V35s. So we're using a 1960A with G12Ms, which I'm sure, or I've read somewhere that he has used in the past. And I have read in forums, for example, Neil Kernan, talking about how he has used a single SM57 for miking cab. So I've done that as well and just opted for a single SM57. That's literally it. Now, I did want to try something else too. I also read that Neil Kernan just used a basic graphic equalizer for most of the guitar EQ. I thought that was very interesting, so I wanted to try that as well. I've done basic preliminary EQ with the GEQ Modern from Waves, followed by some stuff with FabFilter and some frequency notching, a little bit more shaping, and then my secret sauce as always. However, not a lot of work, not a lot of post-processing, I should say, went into this tone. Most of the work went right here into this tone stack. I spent a good 35-45 minutes playing with these settings first and the cab impulse before I even touched EQ. Alrighty, so for bass, I am using the Colossus Bass 2 Stingray B7K tone. Actually, the guys in NILE don't really use a lot of. I mean, they have a bass in their band and it's in their mix, but it's not really heard. It's just there for the basic fundamentals. However, I put a little bit more bass into my song. For drums, I am using drums from the Metal Factory Studios. This is the Pro Masterworks kit, and I am pairing them with the Sabian cymbals, also from the Metal Factory Studios. And that is it. Now, I have quad tracked this 4 times, and I played each one of these in a single take, and no splicing, no editing, nothing like that. So let's actually get into how this sounds. Let's actually take off the post-processing. Let's just start like this. I'll leave the limiter on so it's audible. Let's solo this and see what we have. So I'll A-B the processing from the bus first. So here we go. So yes, the tone is very scooped sounding, and that's one of the things that I really like about this tone actually. It's very bass and trebly and presency with low mids, and it just sounds chunky and chuggy, especially this section here when I'm doing the palm mutes. It just sounds freaking huge. So the EQ that I'm doing here, I'm doing a basic filter and taking a tad out at 800. It's basically the same thing. I just was experimenting to see how much I could shape the tone as minimally as possible before I did the bus processing. So let's see if I can actually... So what I'll need to do is go to this view, close that, actually go back and solo this, and then I will enable these as it's playing. So let's go back and go. So the result is actually very, very minimal. It's near, I don't know if you're even going to be able to hear the difference on YouTube, but it's so subtle. And I was just very curious how much I could get done or what I would be able to accomplish using the GEQ. And then of course I have the low guitar mid cleanup preset that I always use to help clean up palm mutes. Let's actually do this. And let's go to the palm mute section right here. So as you've heard, really, the post-processing is not where the sound comes from at all. It's from this tone stack right here. And this may look funny or strange, these settings, but I really didn't care what the settings looked like. I just cared about the kind of sound that I was getting when I was basically going for this NILE tone. So that's it, folks. Using completely free plugins, you can create a NILE-inspired tone with a little bit of work, a little bit of experimentation. As I said, once again, I do not have Karl's gear, I don't have his guitar, I don't have his pickups, I don't have his actual rig. So this is just an imitation, a fan, just a fan trying to recreate the sound. So an imitation. That's the best that I could call it. So I hope you liked the tone. If you found the video helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss my future videos. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.